All right, Taylor, you got to hit this foul shot right here. Stay focused, stay focused. All right, take your time. Plenty of time on the clock. Okay. You got 15 seconds. It's okay. Focus, focus. You're good, you're good. Keep going. A little closer, a little closer, a little closer. Okay. There you go. You got it. You got it tackled. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. What did she say? She said yes! Philadelphia! It was a proposal! Make some noise for Fox! And Taylor! Congratulations!
That's awesome.
Homeboy said trust the process.
That's awesome.
I know you started off a little short, put a little more into it, need a little more time.
Listen.
Okay, and then once you make one, turn on around. That was nice. That was very creative. I believe both of them are probably huge basketball fans.
Don't you feel like that's how Nick probably would do a proposal if he had his wish?
No, I know Danielle. No.
Oh, no. Had I done a proposal like that, Nick would be single Nick and saying, I blew it with that in-game proposal. However, I think proposing at a stadium is a terrible move. But that way was creative enough that I think it was pretty cool.
Because the number one reason why Danielle, because Nick, you should have warned me. Well, why I have to warn you, sweetie? It's a surprise. No, so I can wear an outfit. It's my national day day. Danielle was not going out like that in a white T-shirt and some tennies.
Touche, sir. You ain't lying about nothing.
Let me spend some of that money.
One day we'll talk for
Yeah, we got to talk about that. Oh, yeah, we should. I have a good story.
Yeah. We have 3 hours, so we'll have tons of time. Time for some stories to start your morning. Good news for Eagles fans. The team says Carson Wentz is ahead of schedule in his rehab. Wentz's target return date is week 1 of the season. Cece, how important is it for Wentz to be ready for that first week?
It's not that important. I mean, it's a target date. It's the injury date for all guys that can get injured the season before or in the off season. Hey, all these doctors around the country, you know what they're saying? Hey, after Labor Day, that weekend, I see you being healthy that weekend. Also, I see our statistician Dusty over there praying. He's praying. That's what they're hoping.
Big Eagles fan.
They're hoping and praying that there's no setbacks. You know, the stronger he can get, it's nice that he's ahead of schedule. With these types of surgeries, there is a schedule. He would be plenty able to be able to play in the first regular season game. So unless he has some type of setback, I believe that this schedule does match up with the injury. Not all the time a doctor's schedule matches up with the injury that a professional athlete has.
Cece, it's super important he's available week 1 because that's the only way they can trade Nick Foles like we've been talking about. But I digress.
You've been talking about.
I've been talking about. Here is why I do think the earlier the better for Carson Wentz, in particular, different than every player you want to back week 1. They did just acquire Mike Wallace. And the getting on the same page with what they hope to be their deep threat, the earlier he is. If he is maybe ready 2 weeks before the season, maybe a little preseason action, anything like that, that's a bonus. I don't think it's super critical when his skill set especially is just the over-the-top deep ball with Wallace, but...
Yeah, and as a quarterback, you don't have to be 100% healthy with a knee injury because the referee and the rules are going to protect you.
All right, moving on to the Colts. Andrew Luck wasn't on the field last season, but owner Jim Irsay still thinks he has a bright future. Irsay said Luck has, quote, a full decade ahead of him of excellence. Nick, what are realistic expectations for Luck when he returns?
Listen, I would think realistic expectations are to pretty quickly go back to being the quarterback he was in year 3, which was the best year of his career so far, but still, year 3 was not as good as we expected Andrew Luck to ultimately be. It was an excellent season, but this was a guy that was supposed to be, no question about it, a top 5 quarterback in the league. Injuries and organizational malpractice almost have maybe cost him the bulk of the beginning of his career. But yeah, if he's healthy, I would say the way quarterbacks are playing now, yeah, another decade. You sure as hell hope he's going to be there for another decade playing really, really well.
Well, He should be there a decade, but I'm gonna tell you, if they put the same type of running game in front of him, with a lack of a 100-yard rusher, he won't last another 10 years. If they put an incompetent offensive line, which they put in front of him for most of his career, he won't last another 10 years. As football fans, we're getting robbed of Andrew Luck, so we're all pulling for Andrew Luck to be back playing at a high level. He should be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, and if he's not, something's wrong. And a lot of that has to do with how Indy's managed his career.
And keep in mind, the Colts should be able to upgrade some of those spots. When they traded back, they got those 3 extra second-round picks from the Jets to where maybe they can grab a running back. Maybe they can grab another offensive line.
All right, college basketball now. Another season, another mass exodus for Kentucky. Coach Cal says he expects just about all of his players to go through the draft process and see where the committee sees them going. Nick, how do you see all that playing out?
Listen, I think this is what every college player that has any shot of going pro or being a pro should do. The NCAA removed the restriction a few years ago to where now you can do this an unlimited number of times. As long as you don't sign with an agent, you can put your name into the draft process, get a true evaluation, figure out where you would be slotted, and then decide whether or not you should go pro. This is one of the reasons I like Coach Cal. He encourages his guys to do this. He is not selfish about their talent. Hey, listen, go find out. Maybe a team loves you. Maybe a team's telling you you're going to be a lottery pick. Like, maybe you should turn pro. So this is what any potential NBA player should do. I like to see Coach Cal encouraging his guys to do it.
I agree with Coach Cal doing it because it's a part of his normal basketball development. Other colleges, it's not part of them. They don't like to talk about the NBA, so now all of a sudden, if they start allowing players to get a preview of what the NBA is thinking about them, they would start after talking about the NBA more than they're comfortable. I like Coach Cal because he's authentic with it. From the time he meets the kids in high school, the NBA is part of the conversation. He knows it. It's an elephant in the room. People don't want to talk about it, so he initiates the conversation about the NBA and about their future. To me, I would use it as a valuable part of my basketball development. Yeah, you've had a good season. Let's see what the NBA thinks about you. And then we would sit down and try to develop skills around what the NBA said about him and what my staff has said about him moving forward for his basketball future. So I like what Coach Cal's doing.
All right, finally, the odds are out for the NCAA championship. Villanova is the favorite at slightly less than even odds, followed by Michigan at 13-5, Kansas at 18-5, and the Loyola Fighting Sister Jeans at 12-1. Cece, who's got a better chance to win this, Villanova or the Field?
Man, that's hard. It's hard to do because Villanova, for us as being friends of the show, and we've seen Villanova. We've been on Villanova for a long, long time. 15 weeks during the regular season, Villanova's #1. So right now they're in the Final Four. Who do you think's going to win? They're the only #1 there besides Kansas. Yes, they should be the overwhelming favorite. When you look at what's happened coming out of Chicago, Loyola Chicago, Sister Jenna, as you mentioned, and Michigan. Michigan's lucky to be there. Now, they got a good team, and I believe Michigan matches up well against Villanova. But when you ask me right now, there's 4 teams. Villanova is the favorite to win it, and I believe that I would take Villanova over the Field.
You would take Villanova over
Yes.
the Field. I was not prepared to take Villanova over the Field in the round of 16 because there were too many other teams. They had too many games to go through, even though I thought Villanova was the best team. Now that we're down to 4, I absolutely would take Villanova over the Field. That even money bet is a bet that I may have placed yesterday. Like, I think Villanova is better than Kansas, and I know that if Villanova gets through Kansas, they will be a significant favorite, even though Michigan's playing really well over Michigan, or if Loyola Chicago gets there. The other thing you got to look at, of the teams remaining, Villanova is the only one that hasn't had a close call. Like, we saw Michigan need a miracle to beat the University of Houston.
Yes.
Needed some missed free throws, needed a last-second shot. Kansas nearly lost to Duke. Like, they needed a 3-2 force overtime to even get there. And we know Loyola, in each of its first 3 rounds, they won those first 3 games by a combined 4 points, 2 of which on essential buzzer beaters. Villanova's been beating people by double digits throughout this tournament. I mean, I think they are. I would rather them than the Field right now without question.
That could be a bad thing, too, that they haven't really been tested they haven't really had to pull one out. They haven't really had to see what they're made of, you know, to really grind one in this tournament.
In most teams, that might be, you know, to their detriment. But when you look at Villanova and you know their history, like they've been battle tested. They got battled this year against Xavier.
Yeah.
You know, their conference gives them the battles that you would need. We saw here in New York City in the Big East tournament. Also, just 2 years removed from winning the national championship. So they have all the testing, but the games that they did win, they weren't all blowouts. If you watch the first half of those games, in those games, the reason why they weren't contested in the end was because Villanova played well under duress. When they had to, when it was time to step up, make a shot, get a stop, they were able to do all these things.
And of their top 6 players in this tournament, 5 of them have been with the program at least 3 years. 4 of them were with the program when they won a national championship. Like, these are veteran players, so that I think works in their favor as well.
All right, moving on. I don't care how successful your family is. Everyone's got at least a little drama. My family, your family.